about economics for the nation? What do they think is important? And what do their children think is important? Boy, did I learn that. Um, so everybody can actually go home wherever you live, and if you think that the topic is worthy of discussion, because a nation is coming, whether you like it or not, something is going to happen. We don't want to be caught unaware. We want to at least have had a small kind of discussion and are beginning to lay a foundation for what we think is Pono. So that's one thought. Next steps.
But you ask the question again.
What?
So
we
why?
had this discussion. So what? That's the question. So what about it? We gathered your stories. It was all wonderful.
So the question is, what is Pono?
What is Pono? First question is what is Pono? Second question is what is Pono economics? And then what we came up with was an idea of building a filter upon which everybody put their ideas of what is Pono. And then seeing what things would filter through that, what things would drop down on the bottom that turn into economic development that fit the criteria on the screen. You know, I mean, it might not be anything, but some ideas that come up. Chuck.
I know one thing that I personally would like to do is simply like for I'm just going to say West Hawaii because it's such a big island, but or even maybe just Honolulu, but just find out what groups are already doing this.
So you want an assessment?
Well, just I mean, a list of community groups like Kohala Center, you know, and the reason is because, and this is just the real world situation. There are certain resources out there as far as grants and support for nonprofit organizations. There's a lot of competition, and a lot of organizations may be doing their thing and may be fearful of becoming involved with others because they will be subsumed by some other organization. So there has to be that spirit of it's like you were talking about your friend who went to college and she was feeding the medical students and where she was being taken advantage of. Unfortunately, I've had that experience in the nonprofit world. So somehow we've got to get past, I would like for our community, you know, let's speak for ours, to get past the fear that somehow their effort and the volunteers that they have committed, and even among the civic clubs, there's huge competition. I mean, Hawaiian Civic Club has gone through some, I mean, because of different issues and stuff. I mean, it's been split off, and we've had a lot of issues just within the club. So I'm looking at those very real world situations. But I want to do an assessment and see who's doing things that aren't going for me. It means something that is going to carry forward into the future and not take away the ability of the future to be successful.
Let me ask a question then of everybody who's here, because I know everybody already belongs to an organization. How many of you belong to an organization that is Pono? Just a show of hands. What are those organizations? What are they? Give me a name. Who are, that's the assessment part, right? If you say that your organization is Pono, what is it? You name it, that goes on my list. I'm happy. I'm going to hook up with you guys because you guys are Pono. You put your hands up. Who are they?
Pono Hawaii.
Say again?
Pono Hawaii.
Pono Hawaii. Gotcha.
Well, you know, it's difficult to say whether the civic club that we want to Kaneohe Civic Club is Pono. We try to be Pono, you know, because you're not having to reach, you know, that ultimate goal. But what is Pono economics is both theological as well as an indigenous goal. It is one of sharing. Goes all the way back. But however, today there's a wide inequality between the economics of the rich and the economics of the poor. And this is what we need to try to bring that closer together. So this becomes a political, not the economy that we need to deal with. However, we still can, within the communities that we are living with, you know, try to engage in in the management, in the use of the natural resources that we have, and use of the cultural resources that we have. And this is what the Hawaiian Civic Club has been doing since the 1980s. And that is working with the government. In this particular case, with the state government, with the Department of Land and Natural Resources, with the state government, and probably even with private landowners as well. Because as nonprofit organizations or individuals, you can't do it all by yourself. You have to involve the community. So over the years, we have become the curators of Upo Heiau, the largest and oldest heiau on the island of Oahu. Along with the Hawaiian Civic Club, is another environmental cultural Hawaiian organization called ecological. So these are the two organizations that have been involved with the management of resources and the cultural resources in Hawaiian. We built at Upo Heiau and another site called Hawaiʻi. We know that the state government and even private organizations like the YMCA, who own properties on Upo Heiau, don't have the personnel or the monies to care for this site. So they rely on the community groups to do so. In this particular case, they rely on the Hawaiian organizations because we do feel that this is our kuleana, our inherent responsibility to care for these places in such a way that we're able to then use these places to educate others. So not only the members of our group, families, etc. So the bottom line is the educational part as well. And we have worked with the DLR for a number of years, educating them, persuading them of the importance of the sites. And in so doing, as they had revised and updated the master plan for Hawaiian Marsh, they have included around the marsh different areas to be Hawaiian cultural sites. Hawaiian cultural sites so that we could have facilities where school groups could come there. Right now, it's all in open doors. For instance, this last Saturday, we had over 40, 50 Hawaiian families with their children coming to Upo Heiau to harvest the hau in order to make the kopi or the ads, to make the old poi boards, so that then can also stones in order to make poi for the family. So these are the cultural kinds of activities that we do here. And others may not realize, but on top of that, we have many visitors coming to the site. In fact, the very same day, there are 2 busloads of tourists parked on the Kainu Road and then walking down to see the sites. And so this area here is not only locally, but nationally and internationally. But this is more than a curiosity place for visitors. This is a living cultural area. And so these are the kinds of things that we're engaged in. And these proposed sites that we would like to have around Hawaiian Marsh there are for these purposes. And that is to have a Hawaiian presence at this site officially, which we used to have hundreds of years ago. The same efforts that we were doing here can be done elsewhere, probably done by some of you in where you live in your communities. If not, then you should.
So Chuck,
Yes.
when I asked that question about Pono, and you said, it's actually, it's on the way to, it's not a place that you are in forever, that it's a goal, right? Being Pono or moving towards that or being on and off that path, because it's not all that simple. And then giving the example of the work that you do as being Pono, and yet we all know that even within our own organization, there is conflict. And the struggle to be Pono is really a struggle to resolve the internal conflict so that the Pono is reflected in the external work. Would you say that is true?
Yeah. But
You understand what I'm saying,
yeah,
right?
but yeah.
So not necessarily all the good that you're doing, but
No.
where that comes from.
Yeah.
What gives rise to that? Could the good work happen if the Pono wasn't present?
If the point is what?
If it's not present? So something has to be happening within the organization to allow that stuff to happen. That's kind of where I was going with that. I wanted to hear also what other organizations people are working with that they consider Pono. Nani ni hawa? No?
I'll comment just real briefly, we have about 10 minutes.
Yes,
Okay,
so
so I
talk
want to
about
get
real
to next
fast.
steps.
Okay, after that, and
I
then next
belong
step.
to a nonprofit, or not a nonprofit person, called ATA, Alakakai Trail Association. And we are Ohanas that represented each of the Akapua'as that the trail goes around. So I work through we purchase land, we're just about to close on, up here in Kohala, Kaiholena, 28 acres for the community. So what we do is we say yes. So I'm waimakalani@yahoo.com. So if any of you have Ohana or need access to land around the ocean side or have issues, please look me up because that's my job. And we use all the resources. We use the money from national parks. We use their archaeologists for the Ohana. So if I can help or Kokua in any way, just email me.
So that might be part of the next steps. People are actually talking about their programs, I think, for the specific point of actually getting other people to participate in the program, Daniel.
I just want to talk about the idea that I'm very happy we're talking about economics, because you can, the economies can cross borders. And I think sometimes we talk about government, and sometimes right now government is kind of locking us down in terms of we get in a quagmire of discussing government structures and such. But in economic development, you don't really need the government. You can keep working and developing your own process, and then put in the government or relate to the government. You should keep going, entrepreneurship, capitalism, and still do it in a Pono way. And I like that because we're making progress. And I like looking at being Hawaiian and through another venue, to the economic development venue, without having to always deal with the government issues all the time. It gives us a positive attitude about moving to the next step.
In terms of this particular thing that we did today, what we were trying to do, what do you think should happen next? What's the next steps? We've had, I thought, a little hard discussion. It's kind of like, takes a while to tease all that stuff out.
I say we talk about it more, so things surface, so we share data, so we educate our youth, we learn from our youth at the same time. So like you said, we take it back to our communities and share that, and just through that, I think people that have that in them, like we were talking about earlier, it'll foster that to create some sense of community, and that's what's important, I think, is to create and foster that sense of community, so people will step up and start to live Pono.
I think you have. Well, Cap first, and then we'll have.
But I also think that you're talking about Pono. I was brought up not using Pono because Pono was to be afraid of. You know? Pono is a big word, and being a Hawaiian, I mean not look Hawaiian, but being a Hawaiian, that word was never used in our structure of bringing up. It always, my grandma, my tutor always says, Pono meant beware. Beware of what the other person thinks of what is happening. And so we have always used aloha. You know? We were brought up with that aloha love. So Pono is now a new word in our structure. It's more used by the Haoles, being brought forward to use that. So I think that we should bring back our aloha first and then Pono it out. That's why Pono it out.
Yeah.
Pono it out.
I think in the past, when words of that nature were being sort of used, I think we're in a different place now, where even though aloha is excellent, and I don't have a problem using that, but I think Pono brings it down to earth. it emphasizes what you're doing now is correct. And using that tone rather than saying, that is not a good word. We need to turn that kind of thinking around in order to make people join us, have them come and say, this is correct, this is okay to do. But you've got to get the community to buy into what you want to do before economics is going to work. Because without buying into it, you're stagnant. You're sitting there thinking, wrecking your brain as to how do I make this work? So even for us when we moved away from Hawaiian, we didn't move because we wanted to. We moved for reasons. Because we weren't making it on our own. We needed to do something more. But it doesn't mean that we don't still have that feeling of wanting to come back to do what we actually started out to do many years ago. But in order to get the community to buy in, you've got to have something to get the community to buy in.
That and then Daniel.
Well, I think today is a really good start. And I think one of the problems when you have a discussion like this, people think, oh, that's later. And what we have to show them is that this is actually happening now in many different places. So if you show people, and I think this is a great start, if we keep that list going and each group from their own place brings in ideas, it just grows, and then people start to say, well, this isn't later, this is happening now. And I think we need to make it real for people and not a dream, but that this can happen, and it is happening. And I think that will give people the confidence to say, yeah, we can do that.
So a good example is, I'm sorry.
Wait, stop. Let's hear from Daniel first. And then
One second. I just want to say, looking back, I come from a business background. So if you look back at the history, what have been successful business, it's all about networks, Hawaiʻis, all the Hawaiʻis in Hawaii. And I think that our next step is to create some of those Hawaiʻi so that businesses that are successful can pull up the other ones and help them out to start to develop. So for mentorship programs, connect all the ones in your neighborhood, in your communities together. I think we tend to, nonprofits always like Chuck was talking earlier, right? We try to stay by ourselves. But in this sense, we really have to join together and work to help each other. And maybe you have to contribute a little bit more, and some that are not so successful at business leadership. Because in the end, everybody benefits because everybody's engaged. The business is
If what you're saying here applies, I'm sorry, what is your name? Waimakamani. You know Dennis Hart and Roy Santana, and I've been working with them for years, and it's interesting, I've worked with the Aliʻi Trail Association, and I have never met you before, and yet you're sitting in this room, and this is a very good example of the fact that, even in this room, we have people who've been working on the same exact thing, but we've never met each other. So this is a perfect example of, that's one good thing that even came out of this, is just for this you and I meeting. Just for this island and for the Alaloa, for the Alakakai, and for the trails, which are essential for development of formal economics as well.
others?
I think it is good kind of planting the seeds in each other's head about different approaches, models, and things like that. And I would like to recommend that, I don't know if anybody knows how to do the Facebook stuff. I'm not too good at that, but I think we should create a Facebook group for continued discussion. We cannot accomplish very much in the 3 hours or so that we have, but on Facebook, people have new ideas that pop up in their head. They can put that down and kind of filter that to the group.
Something workshop or whatever the title is.
So we're networking, building relationships.
I think we have to we discussed defining Pono, discussing Pono economics. But I think since there are business people here and economic people here and other kinds of people here, we also have to define economics.
that's one thing we didn't do is actually define economics, we didn't define a resource, we didn't define lots of things, we got kinda hung up on.
We had the
what's
Western
going on.
definition.
We have a Western
Yeah, you
definition.
introduced the West.
Let's come back.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Pono is a value judgment. It
Yes.
depends upon one's interpretation. What is Pono for me may not be Pono for you. And this is a situation that we have now in quite about Kwame Marsh. Because there are opposing groups there who feel that what we're doing is not Pono for them.
Right.
So, the goal is, overall, whatever we engage in within the community, is to get the community together. Not only, first of all, within the Hawaiian community, but also with the non-Hawaiian communities there, in order to do what we think is Pono for what we're doing in this particular case, is to have these one cultural sites in Hawaiian.
So Pono might include open Pono, what you're saying, right?
Very good.
Right, yeah.
Haku.
Say again?
Haku, we need that structure, you know, that, I consider it, our self-discipline. You know, our
Yes.
self-discipline.
So then you don't have to create the law if you're already, it's internal, right,
Yeah,
okay. Obviously,
non-verbal
I read about
society
it.
is what we are, we're non-verbal communicators, and we didn't have a written language.
I don't know where to put that information, but that all sounds really, fitting. Nani?
Did anybody mention who benefits and how many benefit from your?
I don't know, but we did talk about, we did ask the question.
Yeah, you did? Okay.
Who benefits in the exchange and where do the benefits accrue to?
Yeah.
So,
That's why we talked about volunteering, we talked about the volunteerism,
And
was
skill
because there are multiple benefits that go beyond getting the work done. There are other things that are going on that no one keeps track of, but those are benefits. But that one is so important.
Hands-on learning, everybody.
Okay, other thoughts, or are we done at the end? Oh, Isaac?
I think a lot of the effort needs to be ahupua'a driven, that's a community. So people on outer islands and neighboring ahupua'a, not kind of dictating what your ahupua'a should be doing.
Are we talking about energy exchange? Oh, sorry.
Developing what is Pono for your ahupua'a and things like that.
Yeah.
And
I'm
the-
there.
And the Pono thing is to thank the people who brought the food.
So you guys, thank you all for joining. I want to say one last thing, and so does Penny. Don't leave yet. One of the things that we have not specifically touched on is that we always talk about what we want and what we need. And we don't always ask really where our direction comes from. You think this is all random?
No.
This whole thing about nationhood and moving to reclaim what is ours might be driven from someone else, not us. So when we honor those who came before and we honor our ancestors, you know you have to participate in this because it's required. I wanted to make sure I added that before you leave. Penny.
The last thing I want to add is that when we talk about all of these streams, we talked about Aina as, it was called the frame for the stream, but it's actually the biggest reference we have. Everything, if we are in relationship to Aina, like that, and in terms of all the other things. So in terms of planting seeds and networking, I want to encourage everybody to plant actual seeds. Put food in the ground, to grow food, to share with each other, and to continue the giving and gifting so that all of that grows.
You all have signed on to our list, so we have your email addresses. We would like to continue to stay in touch with you, to share information as it comes up, and also to share with you the data we've gathered so far. And if you're gonna do this in your community, wherever you are, would you be willing to also share that data with the rest of us? What's gonna happen after a while is we're gonna start collating data. Just because it's coming in, and we're gonna see some common themes are gonna fall out of this. And I bet you everything we talked about is the same thing everybody's gonna talk about when they're in their own groups. So that tells us something about where we are as a nation reborn, whatever.
Rebirth.
I just wanted to add, you know, in San Diego, a lot of the schools, and I'm sure the schools here do too, have, you know, put out little gardens. Even those that are, don't have space, if they could get a few boxes, and start there, you know. We have 3 boxes of tomatoes at our house, and I wish I didn't plant tomatoes, I have so many tomatoes. To do with it. So I give them all to the neighbors, right? You know, so now they're asking, Margaret, you got any more tomatoes? I said, no, next year, come next year. But I think if we all just started our own small little garden and move from there, because growing a garden may not be your thing, you know? You know, like my son, loves the garden. Once he's got everything in, wow. He's not out there watering, mother's out there watering.
That's what you call.
Sounds
like the animals.
But just, I think if we just start.
I wanted to call your attention to this. Some of you got them, I hope everybody got one. This is tea. Penny will explain to you what this is, but on it, you know, this is a little, not that we're like cheap or anything. Not using up all the resources that you don't have to. We didn't want to buy plastic bags to stick stuff in because we already had our recipe on the paper. So the recipe became the container, and the container holds a lot of tea. But the recipe is also about health and wellness, and in many ways, passing on that benefit of good energy, a willingness to help people be healthy and well, passing it on in a container that has information on it. How's that? Wonderful. We want to thank Maui guys. Penny. That came from Maui. And for those of you who are on to our history, you may know that our queen, Lady Uokalani, had a relationship with Grover Cleveland. This is him, a commemorative coin in his honor that our club is using for a fundraiser. If you're interested in purchasing one, you can. And the final thing, and I'm going to slap myself for not bringing it, some of us are wearing this. This says, my kupuna signed in 1897. It's a fundraiser for our club too. It's $1. And I got them all back at our house. But I'll bring it tomorrow, the next day, the next day. And what we are finding is that if you love your kupuna, whether you know their names or not, it's not relevant. That energy that you generate from loving them, it's going to them. It's better if you know their name, but some of us don't know our genealogy. But we know for a fact they signed this petition that we know about, and let us honor them for that. This was meant to honor them. And if you can't trace your genealogy back to them, you should unite somebody. You know how many people don't get claim? Somebody needs to own this kupuna. Somebody needs to bring their energy forward into the struggle. I would encourage you to do that. Then I'm going to say the last thing, promise. Our club, we got a thing about history. So our club does a lot of research, and we promote educational outreach programs in the form of art, drama. We do plays. We do the sign displays. We took it to DC in 2012. Our next phase of this project is that June of this year, we took them to the lo'i at Papahanakua Olen Kaneohe. We put them in the ground. It came to us that they wanted to be back in the island. So we laid them in the lo'i, on the banks, by the street, whatever. We didn't know how we were going to do it. We just took them, and it was a regular work day there. And so the person who was arranging it for us asked the volunteers, would you guys give a little bit of your time to put the kupuna out? Give them, 5 minutes, whatever. And they said yes. So here you see a bunch of people with armfuls of kupuna trucking down to the stream, and the instruction was, you carry our kupuna in your hands, they will tell you where they want to go. And so I see this young woman in front of me she stops right by the bank. We're going across the street, right across the bridge. And I told her, what are you doing? She said, well, they like over here. Who am I to argue with you? You go, girl. So she's over there, she's sticking them all on the street. And then they're all over the place. It was the first time that we did not have a structure for how we laid out the sign. We like to be neat, geometric, and perfect. So they went and they laid it out. And we didn't take them in that night. They stayed in the low night. Well, it poured.
Oh.
And the next day was like everything was muddy. Okay, so we had to create that, we had to clean up. It took us a while, we did. At the end of that day in the Aliʻi, we had a gathering with all the volunteers, and we said, well, what do you guys think? What should we do? And one guy said, well, if you like being a kai, like being the aina, maybe they like being a kai. And we're thinking, wow, what does that look like? You know, the idea came to have them sail. Now, hopefully, had already departed on their worldwide tour, so we couldn't ask that. So we said, okay, how are we going to take them on a sail? And we brought that to our Civic Club, and one of our members has a canoe. So he said, hey, we're doing one sail in 2015, we can take them. Oh. So what we're doing, selling these things and these things, is we're buying a sail. Sail is like $700. And on that sail, for this one canoe, they're going to put their names on the sail. And they're going holo across the sea. This canoe is going to launch on this island in, I think, summer of 2015. And so what we're putting out to, for those of you who are here, can you launch them? Can you honor them with appropriate ceremony? Can you wish them well when they go? And we'll receive them, because they're going from island to island where the signatures were collected. So we need help. And we have an idea. We don't have any money. We have no resources, but you're our resource.
Email me.
I'm emailing everybody.
We can help.
So, not for us to dictate how that's to be done here.
We can help.
Our kuleana is on Oahu. We live over there. We're going to receive. We can do this, and then we're going to send. But you guys are sending, and so your kupuna will tell you what you need to do. That is our belief and our understanding, and we welcome. And maybe one day we're going to sail to San Diego. I'll be there. So that's, and in the process of doing that, we know that relationships will be made among all the members of a community who don't know our history. You get a chance to tell them our history and to have them connect with our kupuna. Hey, by the way, I'm from this island, so I'm disconnected myself. So, yes, sir.
I just want to make a note for everybody to disappear.
Okay.
I have information for those of you who would like to purchase a Pono book. I have cards here that has the email ad, the website. You can order it and mail it to me. I was going to bring it, but it's too heavy. And they didn't know how many books they would need. So this was the best arrangement. So the phone number you can call if you know more computer, or there's the web ad. So I don't want too many, so if I give you, share it with your ohana and your other members of your club, I'd really appreciate it. So if anybody is interested, I got the information here. Anybody care?
So you guys, I'm assuming you guys know what it is, right?
No.
It is a curriculum.
Yeah.
It's being taught in the University of Hawaii system. It's being taught.
History of Hawaii.
It's being taught in a high school, junior level high school.
I read them all. I do.
So share this with your members, please.
I have
You know, there's the website and the phone number.
I'll see you again and again.
By the way, my name is Dennis Sa. I am Keanu's father.
Keep us in the loop, stay connected.
Well, we can
Yeah,
Oh,